If it looks like I'm upset or I've been crying, it's because I just had a breakdown about the way I look. And I thought, what better time would it be than to start this video, because I've been planning on making this video for quite a while, a couple of weeks now. Yeah, I think I wanted to talk about, I suppose, some of the things I struggle with in terms of body image, because I think there's this idea that although I feel like I say in my videos or over on Instagram or anything like that I do struggle with these things still, I think it often gets missed. For me, obviously I've changed a lot physically over several years, and as much as a physical change I kind of am used to, the mental aspect of it and the mental development that goes into it, I'm still working on so much. And I have really good times with it, and then I have like really bad times with it. I feel ungrateful, I feel guilty that like my back is not too bad at the moment and I can walk, so I should be grateful for that. Or like my psoriasis is managed at the moment and I should feel grateful for that. And I have family and partner that cares, and I'm really fortunate in that way, and all those things are so much more important than the way you look. They really are, but your brain has a really good way of convincing you otherwise sometimes. And then I just feel angry at myself. Like I feel angry that I'm even allowing myself the time to feel this way. I probably feel better in a day, maybe even less than that, because probably in a couple of hours I'll feel absolutely fine. And a lot of this is just in my head. So I'm going to stop filming now, and I will catch up with you guys at some point in the next couple of days, and we will get properly into this video. Alright. Hey guys, how you going? So from the last clip, you can probably guess today's video is going to be all about body image. And it's a big topic and something that I have been working for years now to try and get my head around in terms of my own body image and how I feel about different aspects of myself and the struggles that I have, which you've probably just seen, and sometimes I'm at peace with it and I feel really positive. But I have come to several conclusions over that time, and I've worked out things that help me and things that make it worse. But the other thing that I've noticed, which is so big, is that it just affects all of us pretty much. You know, working in the job that I do and having the ability to see so many people and share their stories and their experiences, it's super eye-opening to see just how many of us are affected by these issues. But not only that, but how we are truly our own worst critics, and that we feel that these things are flaws that only we possess and we can't see it in others. And even if we do see it in others, we don't think the same way about it as we do it when we have it on ourselves. And so in this video, I'm trying to get my thoughts so this is a nice, clear and easy to understand video. So hopefully it comes across that way. But I just wanted to share with you some of the common issues that I have come across with myself, and some of my insecurities, and some of the things on my body that I don't particularly love, and sometimes I struggle with and sometimes I'm okay with, and show you that A, it's normal, B, that we can truly be our own worst critics, because these are probably things that either you have never noticed on me in any of my videos, or you probably wouldn't even think twice about. But yet I can be really severely affected by them or really get myself down about it as well. So hopefully this video will give you a little bit of a eye-opening perspective on the fact that we all struggle with these things and they're completely normal. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to take you through some of the ways that I found which really help to reduce the pressure, reduce the strain, and some positive words as well. I have coffee in hand, so hopefully the caffeine will help me speak a little bit more clearly, because the first thing that we're going to talk about, sorry, I have some notes that I have written down, but the first thing that we're going to talk about is just body image in general. And this is probably the thing that I was really upset about in the last clip that you would have seen. I probably was just struggling with my general body image. It wasn't a particular issue that I was upset about. There wasn't a particular thing that I was upset about. It was just, I woke up and I had that feeling of, why do I look and feel the way that I feel? So I've made several videos in the past about my body image and about how I feel about myself and all my struggles as well. And probably the most recent one, which I got the deepest in, is why losing 30 kilos didn't make me happy and what did. And I think that one strongly relates to a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about in this video. So if you want to check that out, feel free to go and check it out after. But I think I expressed myself pretty well over there in the fact that I still struggle to come to terms with who I am, what I look like, how other people perceive me, how I perceive myself, and the constant flux in those things. So the constant change and variability in what I see in the mirror and how I feel about myself and how I feel about the person that I am. I am still very much a work in progress, and in that video I kind of touched on the fact that I always was under the impression that if I lost weight I would be happy, and it was as simple as that. It was just a black and white thing that would take a lot of the stress away and I wouldn't have anything to be worried about, or I could deal with all the other stresses in a different manner, but just because I felt differently about myself. But I was wrong. And even though I've changed a lot physically, the mental aspect of weight loss and changing who you are as a person essentially is something that I still struggle with to this day, and I still have to keep working on proactively to improve. Just like anyone, some days I feel fantastic and I wake up and everything's amazing, and then some days I'm completely distraught and crying my eyes out and genuinely can't function, all over how I perceive myself to look or I perceive myself to feel. It's like someone just removes all rationality from my brain, and I'm sitting in that being annoyed at myself for being so irrational, because I know that it's just wasting time, it's silly, but I just can't pull myself out of it. And I think that's one of the reasons why it is super frustrating when we're just looking at ourselves and judging ourselves in the mirror, is because it's all our own perception of ourselves, and we know that that is not accurate. What we see in the mirror of ourselves is not an accurate representation of what other people see when they look at us. If we were to go and stand in front of a mirror, we stand in a certain way and we'll pose, even if we don't realize it might just be subconscious, and we stand certain ways, so we don't necessarily see what other people see. Obviously as well, the reflection in the mirror in terms of your face is completely different to what other people see as well. And so that's why often, a lot of the time, when you see a video footage or you see a photo of yourself, you almost don't recognize it, or you're like, oh, that's a bit off-putting. Like it takes you a step back a little bit, because when we stand in front of the mirror, the perception that we're seeing isn't necessarily true. And there's that classic thing that I'm sure we've all experienced, where you may have had a day or an event or something that might have happened where you felt rubbish, like you felt like you didn't look good at the time, or you felt overweight, or you felt like the dress that you were wearing didn't look nice, or whatever it might be. And then years later, it could even be a day or a week later, you'll look at a photo or some footage from that day and you'll be, oh, what was I thinking? I actually looked fine, like I looked great. And we see this all the time, and that just goes to prove that our perceptions aren't always accurate. So of course our bodies are changing all the time, and that's completely normal and expected, and I honestly have such an amazing appreciation for what my body can do and how amazing our bodies are, like what they do for us day to day, what we can challenge them to do and they will deliver, and the recovery process when you've been injured or when you've been ill or unwell, whatever it might be, it's phenomenal. They are such amazing machines, and yet I can still stand in front of a mirror and absolutely tear myself to shreds over pointless stuff that really has no place to be spending that much time over. And that alone is super, super frustrating. And I know there's so many of us that do that. So I suppose in terms of general body image, what I want you to know is A, you're not alone. It's something that a lot of people are challenged in terms of being their own worst critic, focusing on what they see as their flaws, and not having necessarily an accurate representation in their brain of what they look like, or just being really, really hard on yourself. But it's not necessary. So when you want to look in the mirror and beat yourself down, try to remember that your body is incredible, and what it has done for you today is just phenomenal. So try to appreciate that, and remember that what you're seeing and what you're criticizing is so much more magnified in your eyes than it is in other people's eyes. Your perception of yourself is always going to be completely different than it is to others. And I made an Instagram post about this recently because I mean, I fall for this as well, but you know, sometimes I look in the mirror and then I look down and I see completely different things. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's like I'm looking at one person and then I look down and I see another. So I'll try and put a little reel up here so you can see what it was. But don't forget that your perception of yourself, even if you're not looking in the mirror, the way you're just feeling yourself, looking at yourself when you look down or when you're doing exercise is completely different, and you probably don't look like that from an outside perspective. We truly are our own worst critics, and there's so many things about ourselves that we identify and that we fixate on so much, even if we're doing it on a subconscious level, that other people have and are completely normal, but we're so hard on ourselves still. So I'm going to touch on those in this video. So for me, those are things like cellulite, loose skin, stretch marks, and my skin. But there's also things that I have always been aware of that are really random, again, that I just subconsciously allow to control my thoughts sometimes, and I just always notice and feel conscious of it. One of those is that one of my legs is bigger than the other, and I have had friends for years and years and years who have never even noticed it until I've brought it up, and they'll be like, no, it's not, surely. And then I'll show them and they're like, whoa, yeah. But it's like 1.5 inches wider. I'll put some footage up so you'll be able to tell. But it's been like that since I was born, and it's not gonna change. Doesn't matter what I do, but for some reason, I subconsciously stand with people to the right of me when I'm talking to them. I will stand with my right side to the camera in photos just naturally, unless I have to like actually consciously think about changing that. I sometimes can't fit into jeans just because my leg doesn't fit in, or into boots. And that'll be a subconscious thought in my mind when I'm trying on jeans. I'm like, oh, I don't want to try them on because I know it won't fit on my leg. At the end of the day, these are just little quirks. And like I say, to me, it looks like a massive difference. Like I can identify that so quickly and I can feel it. But other people I've known for years and years and years who spend days, day in, day out with me, and they've never even noticed until I've said something. So if that helps you understand how the perspective can be completely different, then hopefully that's a good example. I also have a birthmark on that leg as well, which you may be able to notice. And when I was born, it ran from my lower back all the way to my heel, and it was port wine color, like so it was like really dark red. And the doctor said to my parents, like, you can get this lasered off or you can just leave it. And they chose to leave it, and it's faded over time, but as you can probably see, I don't know, I haven't seen the footage yet, it's still obvious if you know it's there, and it takes up quite a big part of my upper leg still. So that's another thing that I'm aware of that just can't change, and I just have to accept. I mean, thinking about it again, it's pretty unique, and I always say to myself, everybody's got something. Everybody has something that's different or unique, and everyone has something that they're worried about or they're aware of. So it's completely normal. Okay, so let's move on to cellulite. So I have got cellulite on my legs and on my butt, but I mainly have it on my left leg, the leg that's larger, like I showed you in the last clip. So it's always been there. When I was overweight, it was there, and when I lost weight, it was there. It's never gone. So I mainly have it on my left. I have very, very little on my right, but only in certain lights and when I'm super, super dehydrated, or depending on what I've been doing. It does bother me. And again, that plays into the subconscious of always standing with my left away from people and not wanting to turn that way, and thinking about the fact things might not fit me the same way on that leg. Honestly, if there was one part of my body that I was most self-conscious about, it would be from my belly button to my ankles. That would be it, because it seems like most of the things that I'm aware of or I'm concerned about are in that area. But I've just kind of got to the point where I need to accept it. Like, there's no other option. It literally just takes away my energy, and these things are completely normal for the most part. And again, no one really cares. Like, no one does. I mean, day to day, no one is ever going to come up to me on the street and say, oh, you've got stretch marks, or you have loose skin or veins, or whatever it might be. No one's going to do that. And then to add to that, I put my photos up and videos of me on the internet where anyone can see it. And I promise you, I'm so, so fortunate. I have never had somebody say anything negative, ever. And that's because it's just not the same. People understand that these things are a normal physiological thing to have on your body, and it's not because you're unhealthy or you're a bad person or you don't treat your body right. It's just normal.
And cellulite is one of those things. So cellulite affects 80 to 90% of women. So it's really, really common and absolutely in no way dangerous at all. So cellulite is formed when these tough filaments connect your skin to the muscle underneath, and in between that is fat. And because those filaments are really tough, then when the fat cells start to increase, they push up against the skin, filaments pull down, and it causes that dimpling effect. Now, the filaments in females are down and lengthways, whereas in men, they're like a crisscross shape, so they're not gonna get it as often. So simply dieting won't change the appearance of cellulite. That's why women of all shapes and sizes have the appearance of cellulite. And there's a lot of other factors that go into it, such as hormones and genetics as well. I know there is so many different things out there saying that you can treat cellulite, certain creams and treatments and all that stuff you can have. At the end of the day, my belief is it's normal, it's okay. It might not be your favorite part of your body, but there's nothing dangerous about it. So let's try to embrace it rather than try to constantly beat ourselves down and find a way to fix it. Now, I know in my experience, I've never tried to actively change it because I've just accepted that it's a part of my body. But I know that when I am really hydrated, when I live a balanced and healthy life, and I will go into this a little bit later, and also when I do some strength training as well, so if I do a little bit more resistance training and build up muscle mass slightly more, then I notice that it's not as obvious, but there is always, I've never ever experienced it not being there. So for me, I've just accepted that it's a part of my body, and while I don't love it, I don't necessarily think it's that bad. I would probably still be conscious of it if I went out and I was wearing shorts or a bikini or something like that, but not to the point where it would stop me from doing that. And it really is a normal aspect, and like I say, 80 to 90% of women have it. It's not a reflection on you as a person or your choices or anything like that. It is just a completely normal part of our bodies, so try not to let your thoughts get caught up in it, and remember that you probably notice it a lot more than other people do. Okay, so let's move on to loose skin, which I think is going to be the main one because it's a question I get so often, and probably one of the things that affects me the most. So this could be an interesting topic. I feel like when you say loose skin, or when people are thinking about losing weight, they have these ideas that they're gonna end up with these huge amounts of excess skin that's gonna need surgery to remove and always obvious. But for me, that has not been my experience. And I want to preface this with saying, when I was losing weight, or before I even thought about losing weight, it was never ever in my mind. I was not even conscious of the fact that I could potentially get loose skin, that I would have loose skin. And even after I'd lost the weight, started doing my calisthenics training and was just doing my thing, I still wasn't aware of it until I actually started getting questions about it. And then I was a bit more aware, and then I realized, oh yeah, I do actually have some. And I reckon now I'm far more aware of it and conscious of it than I ever was before. So I'm going to show you what it looks like, and I have made a few Instagram posts about this, and again, I've mentioned it in a video before. But the thing is that just standing in front of you, it's not very noticeable that I have any loose skin, because I just look like anyone else, just a completely average person. My skin doesn't look particularly loose, there's no hanging skin or anything like that. It just looks completely average. But the skin is very stretchy from obviously where it's been stretched. So it's a little bit different in terms of the feeling and the texture. So it can definitely be moved around a lot more. And if I was to then wear, let's say, high-waisted leggings like I live in, and I twist my torso, you can often notice that the skin kind of puckers, or it's elasticy, so it kind of hangs around rather than coming with me. So it's not taut and like tight to my body. It's definitely loose in terms of if you were to touch it, it's kind of elasticy. So for me, loose skin is really apparent when I'm in certain positions. So just standing upright, it's not that obvious. If I was to bend over, you can start to notice it on my lower belly or on my tummy. And also I get it on my thighs as well. So I'm gonna try and show you in some footage what it looks like. Hopefully you're seeing that right now. But it obviously depends on the position I am. So gravity is not my friend in this regard. So if I'm doing push-ups or planks, or if I was doing leg raises or something like that where I'm lifting my thighs up, even in certain handstands, you'll be able to notice that there's loose skin. And just like we were talking about at the beginning, between your perception versus my own perception, when I put videos up on Instagram stories or of my training, I zoom in on that. Immediately I'm aware of that loose skin. Yet if I went through some posts and found stuff where I can see the loose skin and showed you, you probably would be like, oh, I never even noticed that, or I didn't even think that was loose skin. That's the completely different perception that we have, because you're seeing it from one perspective and I'm seeing it from obviously my own hypercritical perspective. So this is the thing, the loose skin doesn't look that bad. It doesn't affect me that much. In fact, day to day, it doesn't really bother me at all. But when I'm in a plank position, when I'm in a push-up position, sometimes when I'm filming or doing high intensity movements like mountain climbers or in and outs or something like that, I notice it. I'm really, really acutely aware of it, and it does make me feel a little bit meh. But there's literally nothing I can do. But the thing is, and this is something that I either have, kind of, or have to come to terms with, is that there's very little I can do about it, and it's actually not that bad. So for me, the more weight I lose or the leaner I become, the more obvious the loose skin is. And so there is definitely a sweet spot in terms of aesthetically for my body where it's the least obvious, and that would be somewhere around where I am now. If I was to lose any more weight, it would be a lot more obvious, rather than if I just sort of stayed where I am, worked on building a bit of muscle mass, then it would be probably the best option I have. And it doesn't really look that bad. At the end of the day, this is how I see it. Of course, I don't love it and I wish it wasn't there, but I am so much happier and healthier, more importantly, than I was before I lost the weight. And actually, losing the weight didn't cause me to have loose skin. Gaining the weight in the first place, stretching the skin and damaging the collagen and elastin fibers is actually what caused the loose skin. Obviously, if I had not lost the weight, it wouldn't be there. But like I say, I would not switch it for the world, because my lifestyle is so much better now. My life is so much more fulfilling. My career is unbelievably amazing. I am so, so fortunate and so happy. I don't regret one little thing. So I promise you, I urge you, if you're one of those people that's messaging me, emailing me saying, I don't want to lose weight because I'm worried I'm going to have loose skin, weigh it up and think about the factors. This is not about what aesthetically you're going to look like, and we will touch on this later. This is so much more. This is about your health, your lifelong health, your mental health, and how that's going to look. And trust me, the chance of you having a little bit of loose skin is far outweighed by having a healthier and happier lifestyle, if that's what's going to be the outcome of you losing weight. Plus, it's never as bad as you think it's going to be. Like I said, no one's ever come up to me and said, oh, you have loose skin, and pointed it out to me. Like, they just don't even notice it, because it's not noticeable unless I'm doing a certain thing. And even then, I'm in high-waisted leggings. Thank you, Lululemon. And no one's gonna know, so it's really not a big deal. I will just quickly touch a little bit on the science behind it though, just because I know that it's such an important topic to so many people. But essentially, loose skin comes from when your skin has been stretched, and like I mentioned, the collagen and elastin fibers have been damaged, so they can't retract when the skin goes back to its normal position. So loose skin can come from loads of different things. So while it's commonly related to extreme weight loss, obviously you can get it if you've been pregnant, if you have sun exposure, because that breaks down and damages the elastin and the collagen fibers. And also as you age, you start to get loose skin as well. There are certain factors that will reduce how severe the loose skin is. So things like, for example, if we're talking about weight loss, not losing weight super quickly. So allowing your skin to adapt. You know, think about a nice healthy weight loss. If your goal is to lose weight, as I always say, it's about long-term, lifelong health. So between 0.5 to 1 kilos a week is perfectly healthy. You don't need to rush it. There's no race. Again, it's about building healthy habits and enjoying yourself along the way. So work on losing that weight nice and reasonably healthy, and not focusing on trying to do it super quick. Another factor is how long that skin's been stretched for. So if you've been overweight for a long period of time, the chances are that your skin might not recover as well as if you'd only been overweight for a shorter period. And one last thing, like I mentioned before, I've personally found that if I increase my muscle mass, then it's not as noticeable, but essentially that's because you're putting more muscle behind the skin and you're increasing the size anyway. So muscle mass is a good one, and just making sure that you're living a healthy and balanced lifestyle, which again, we will come to in a minute. Okay, so the next one is stretch marks, and I've had stretch marks for as long as I can remember. I started getting them when I was a teenager. I was going through puberty and obviously growing. Most people tend to start getting them around that. Again, they are completely normal. So many of us have them. I mean, I have so many. I can't even imagine, there are tons. I've got them all over my thighs, all over my hips, my butt, my back, my tummy, everywhere, under my boobs. And like I say, a lot of those actually just came from being a teenager. There are some that have come from being overweight. And again, I get a lot of questions saying, I don't want to lose weight because I'll get stretch marks. But I got some of my stretch marks from gaining the weight and becoming overweight in the first place. So losing the weight didn't actually have any impact. Sometimes they can look a little bit more obvious when I'm leaner, but that's because I have 3 main ones that are around my belly button, which are really, really deep or really obvious. Other than that, the other ones, they just stay the same. And like I said, they've been there for as long as I can remember. So they just don't bother me that much. As I mentioned, the one that bothers me the most is the ones around my belly button because they're the deepest and most obvious in my opinion. But that being said, again, people don't ever notice them. No one's ever said anything to me. And even if they did, they'll know what they are. They're stretch marks. Everyone has them. And I don't think anyone really cares as much as I do. The other good thing is that I like to think of is that, I mean, how often are you showing your belly button to people? I mean, I don't walk around the streets really showing it off that much. Like I'll wear crop tops sometimes in summer, or obviously if I go to the beach, I'll wear a bikini, whatever I'm wearing at the beach. But ultimately, no one's coming up to me and looking really closely at my belly button or my stomach or anything like that. So it's just not that noticeable. And you know, I literally live in high-waisted leggings, so no one's gonna know the difference. Again, I think it all just comes down to us being our own worst critics. And you know, I've even asked my male friends and my boyfriend what their opinion is on girls having stretch marks or cellulite, loose skin, whatever it might be. And I genuinely believe that they're telling me the truth when they say that they just don't really notice it or they don't really care about it. They accept that these are just normal things to have and that doesn't reflect on you as a person. And it's not something to be upset about or to tear yourself down about. We just really are so hard on ourselves about things that are completely normal. And it's something that needs to be addressed because, you know, you feel this way about yourself and this might be on a recurring basis. And this is talking from experience because this happens to me, you know, yesterday or the day before or last week. And like you saw at the beginning of this video. And it prevents you from living a healthier life. Like, we're not just talking about your physical health here. And let's just remember, these things physically have no impact on your health. Like having a bit of cellulite, having some stretch marks, not dangerous in any way whatsoever, completely normal. But they damage our mental health, and therefore they damage how we live our lives and what we choose to do and our relationships and our general attitude towards life. And really, life is too short. And I think that's why I get so upset at myself. Is I sit there upset about the way I look, which at the end of the day is fine. It's completely normal. It's not, you know, I don't want to be on the cover of Vogue magazine. I don't need to be. I'm just me. And I'm healthy, and that's the most important thing. But by tearing myself down and being upset about things that I see as insecurities and flaws means that I'm not living a healthy and happy life like I could be. And if I just let go of those things, not only is that better for my mental health, and will I look back in 10, 20, 30 years time and go, okay, yeah, that was a good time of my life, but actually it makes those things worse because, and I love this quote, it's stress and guilt will do much worse to your body than chocolate cake will ever do. The mental stress that we put on ourselves when we're looking in the mirror, worrying about what size we are, what our skin looks like, or a little mark that other people won't even notice, actually throws our health out so much more and makes these things even more worse. It's one thing to say you're just tearing yourself down in that moment and, you know, you might not like the way you look or something else might make you sad. But actually the implications of this happening on a regular basis is that it's causing a lot of stress to your body, even on a subliminal level. And when you're stressed or when you're sad, especially for a long period of time, it has health implications. You know, you don't sleep as well. It means you have hormone imbalances. It means you don't exercise as much because you don't want to move as much, and you don't socialize as much. And those things are far more important than how you perceive yourself to look in the mirror. Like having a good social life and being able to wake up and feel like you can attack the day, that you have some energy, that you're motivated in some regard to do your work, Those are the things that are important, but also from my experience, when those things are in check and you are living a healthy, happy and balanced lifestyle, that's when everything else actually seems to improve. I know from my experience, when I have been training the way I want to, just enjoying my training and being intuitive about how I move my body, eating balanced, and when I say balanced, that means having a good mixture and variety of different foods and listening to what my body wants, but also having some nice foods and eating that chocolate and that pizza as well, and having a drink or two if you want one. But also equally making sure that you're hydrated and that you're balancing it out. Those are the things that when they're in balance, everything seems to start to click into place and improve. Your body image improves, your confidence improves, how you feel, how you look, how you present yourself improve as well. It's all about balance, not just physical, but mental health. And here's the other thing, is I've just rattled off a whole list of things that I've got insecurities about, and sometimes I can easily sit in front of the mirror and cry my eyes out about, and I can feel guilty about, and honestly at times can cripple me. And it's not just having a bit of cellulite or having a stretch mark. Those things are just things I have on my body that I don't really notice. It's more so the general body image where I can actually just fully tear myself to pieces in this feeling of just anger and frustration at the way that I present myself. You probably don't notice any of those things about me. You see something completely different. And like I mentioned at the very, very beginning, this is something that I'm still struggling with, is understanding what you see versus what I see, or my perception of myself. But you wouldn't notice those things. And even if you did, you wouldn't care. These things, you'd just go, oh, yeah, some cellulite. Oh, yeah, some stretch marks. I genuinely would never see somebody with cellulite and think negatively of it. I would never see someone with stretch marks and even think twice about it. And I would never see someone with loose skin and judge them and think something bad about them. I would, if anything, I'd be like, wow, they've probably achieved quite a lot. So why do I think that about myself? We are just too hard on ourselves. Okay, so I don't want this video to go on too long, so I'm just gonna run over a few different things that I have found has helped, especially when I'm having those really down times. And firstly, and you guys probably saw this one coming, but we're gonna talk about comparison, because comparison truly is the thief of joy. Just like the what you see versus what I see post I put up on Instagram, you're seeing something very different. Even if you're being shown the truth, you're still seeing it through different eyes than the person themselves. And you're probably gonna see it through more favorable eyes. So even if you're not actively comparing yourself, or they are trying to show you the truth, you're not going to see it in the same way, and you're still probably going to be harder on yourself and more negative about yourself, even if it was exactly the same. So if you find yourself going on Instagram, going on TikTok, or whatever it might be, on YouTube, and coming away feeling less good about yourself, feeling more critical, or just generally feeling negative, it's probably a sign that you need to not look at that stuff. And this is something that I fall into, and then I catch my behavior, and then I have like an edit of everything. I go through my Instagram, I make sure that I'm only following accounts based on like performance and stuff, people that truly inspire me and make me feel positive about myself. And if it's anything that I come away from, and this might not be through any fault of their own, this is down to my own way I'm comparing myself, I will unfollow them, I will make sure I step away and just take a break from it. I can easily fall into that trap of comparing myself, and it's not just on an aesthetic basis. I can compare my personality, I could compare my business, I could compare my lifestyle, whatever it might be. I can easily fall into that, and I notice a very strong correlation between the amount of time I spend on these platforms or around certain people and how I feel about myself. So as soon as I step away from that, I become much more sure of myself, and I'm not so upset and stressed. So I honestly feel it's so important to make sure you're editing what you're consuming. I know from my perspective, I'm really mindful about the stuff that I put out on social media. I would never edit anything, and I'm highly aware that just how I can be influenced, or I can compare myself to people who I like watching their content and I like what they have to say and I agree with things they have to say, that people potentially could do the same with my content. And I would urge anyone watching this, if you ever walk away and feel more negative about yourself from watching anything I have put up or any photos I post or anything like that, then I 100% support you in unfollowing me. That's not important to me. What's important to me is that you come away feeling better about yourself, feeling empowered, feeling strong, feeling powerful, whatever it is, that you just feel better in some way from consuming what I have put out, rather than me having an extra view or someone following me. That is not what's important. Just be mindful of who you're allowing into your life. Make sure you edit it well and make sure that they bring something to your life, whether it's people that you're seeing face to face and your friends, or stuff that you're seeing online. Edit it often and make sure that it's adding to your life and not making you feel negative about yourself. All right, so point number 2 is a lot easier said than done, but it's don't dwell on these negative feelings. It can be easy to get upset and to look in the mirror and then you want to just tear yourself to pieces, that you want to really, it can be really self-indulgent when I do it. Like, I just want to completely dwell in it. I don't want to be around anyone else. I just want to basically sit and wallow. And that is the worst thing I can do. And anything that you can do to pull yourself out of that and essentially distract yourself is going to be beneficial. Whether that's going to the gym, going for a walk, reading a book, going and having a bath, putting on a YouTube video, watching some reality TV, whatever is going to help you, do that, but don't dwell on these feelings, because it too shall pass. Like, you will feel better in a day, a week, a month, whenever it's going to be, it will get better. And so the longer that you spend in that moment, sad and upset, it's not going to make any difference. It's going to only negatively impact you. And I say this to myself. If I look in the mirror and I feel bad about the way I look, there's one thing for sure. Me crying and sitting around thinking about it is going to make absolutely no positive impact on that at all. But what I could do is I could go for a walk and I might feel better mentally. Or I could think, I've got the entire day ahead of me and I have an entire day's worth of choices to make, and I'm going to make choices that are going to benefit me. There will be days where you feel negative. There'll be days when you feel down. It's unrealistic to expect that you're going to wake up one day and everything will have changed and you'll just be constantly full of body positivity and love for yourself. There is going to be times where that changes. However, the way you deal with those times is going to be far more important. So don't be too hard on yourself if those times arise, and try to put some things in place so you can't sit and dwell on it. Tip number 3 is understand your body. Things will change. You're going to fluctuate, your body's going to fluctuate, your skin's going to change, your mood is going to change, your hormones are going to change, your appetite is going to change. There is so much going on. Like I said, our bodies are phenomenal. They're unbelievable machines, probably the most amazing one out there. And yet we seem shocked when things happen. Know your monthly cycle, know how the menstrual cycle works, the follicular phase, the luteal phase, how your hormones are changing within that time, and why you feel hungrier and you just want to eat bread before your period, and why you feel bloated certain times, and why you can't sleep very well. Like I always say, education is really, really important. So if you understand really basic fundamental aspects of nutrition and exercise, you won't feel like exercise is a punishment, and you'll feel free to have that pizza or apple crumble because it's totally okay. As always, there's a balance between mental and physical health, and education kind of sits right in the middle of that. So when you understand those things, it makes both a lot easier to manage. And my final tip is, again, easier said than done, but it takes practice, is just to live a balanced life. Make sure you're getting a good 8 hours sleep as much as possible. Make sure you're hydrated. I'm the worst for this, but make sure you're drinking your water. Make sure that you socialize where you can. Make sure that you have some time for yourself. Make sure that you move your body because you can and not because you have to. Just be intuitive. You don't need to follow a program. You don't need to do anything in particular. You don't need to bust your guts every single day exercising. Just move because you're fortunate enough to be able to go for a walk and the sun is out, or dance because you want to follow a YouTube dance tutorial. I mean, I'm rubbish at them, but it makes me feel good. Just honestly work on creating balance and harmony, and remember why you're doing things and who you are. I commonly come back to this. Who am I? It's just me. I'm not an athlete. I'm not trying to win the Olympic medal for something. I'm not a Commonwealth athlete. I'm not a competitive athlete. So I don't need to push myself to extreme levels. What I need to do is make sure that I live a balanced and healthy life. And when I live that balanced, healthy life, that's when everything just starts to fall into place. And I have less bad days with my body image, and I feel happy because it's not all based entirely on my perception of myself. It's how I feel, if I've had a good day, whether I feel like I've been productive, whether I managed to do a handstand for slightly longer, or I was a bit more flexible that day, or whether I got to see my friends. And you know, when I'm sitting tearing myself down in front of the mirror, none of those things are going to happen, that is for sure. So to summarize this video, I just want you to know that I experience a lot of the things that you probably experience too, and I feel the same way a lot of the time. And that might not be obvious on the outside, and you know, that's why I want to make these videos, to make sure that you know that I do struggle with these things as well, but to highlight to you that maybe these things on me that I'm beating myself up about, you're not even noticing. So perhaps the stuff that you're beating yourself up about, other people don't even notice too. And I promise you when I say this, because I have lived this and I experienced this, that losing weight or changing your body will not change your body image. That is an inside job. That is something that your mind has to do. And I will keep saying this until I'm blue in the face. Physical health is one thing, but mental health far outweighs that. You can have physical health and you can be in tip-top condition and you can be fit, healthy, and look in your eyes, I could click my fingers and give you whatever your perfect body is, and none of these flaws that you're ever concerned about. But I guarantee you, if your mental health is not there, if you're stressed, if you're not sleeping well, if you're not happy and enjoying your life, it doesn't matter. It's so irrelevant. The inside needs just as much love as the outside. And my final note is the most important thing is that you are healthy and you are happy. And again, both physically and mentally as well. So remember, don't compare yourself, because you are not seeing others the way they see themselves. Therefore, you're not seeing yourself the way others view you either. You're being your own worst critic, and no one is being as hard on you as you. Know that everybody struggles with these things, but at the end of the day, we all just need to be a little bit kinder to ourselves. All right, guys, I hope you've enjoyed that video, and I would love to hear your thoughts on these topics. I'm sure you guys have got a lot of opinions, so feel free to drop them down below. I'd love to have a chat with you down there about them. Otherwise, I hope you have an amazing day. I hope this video has helped in some way, and I will see you in the next one. This is the other thing, my skin, I forgot to mention it. I mean, you guys know my psoriasis, but I have dermatitis as well. It doesn't look too bad at the moment, but my goodness, I've had an absolute nightmare with it recently. Plus I'm getting grey hair, and I can't dye my hair because my skin's been so touchy. Nightmare. What we look like in the mirror, what our weight is, what our skin looks like. Sorry.